Hello, software leaders. Over 1,000 software founders registered for the webinar that you are about to see a recording of, and over 250 showed up live. In fact, you can move forward here to minute 10 in the video and see them all live with the little Zoom counter at the bottom. It was incredible energy. We focused on 33 growth tactics the top SaaS founders are using to grow right now. That was in May and June and going here into July in 2024. You're going to get all the case studies here in about 3 seconds. Now, if you want the full slide deck, just click the like button below on this YouTube video. Leave a quick comment, and I'll get back to you with the full Google deck, the full Google slide deck. But now, let's jump into the live recording in studio. Here we go.
I want to first just talk about a framework for growth, right? We're all focused, obviously, on growth. And so there's a bunch of different growth strategies. Some of them are fast, and some of them are slow. Now, let me ask you guys a quick question. Just put it in the chat. If we're looking to grow a company and we don't want to spend a lot of money and we obviously want to grow and create sustainability and grow revenue, do we want to generally test fast growth tactics or slow growth tactics? Type fast or slow in the chat. Fast growth tactics, James Beanie, or slow, Morgan Katz? Fast or slow? Those of you that are poker players or parents with 7 kids that need patience, you're going to maybe say slow. Everyone else is going to say fast, right? We want fast tactics. That's the left side here, John Healy, right? Now, the second question is, do we want to spend a lot of money or a little, right? Do we want cheap growth tactics that we can run like no money, or expensive, right? Chris Snyder says little in the chat. David says cheap. Of course, right? We ideally want growth tactics that are in the upper left quadrant. So if you've minimized my screen, you're going to want to maximize it so you can see this. We want those things in the upper left quadrant, right? Fast things that are generally not expensive to run, especially if we're a startup with under $5 million of revenue, right? We want fast and cheap. Now, part of the benefit of having all of us live today is we can have a bit of a group brainstorm. So out of curiosity, guys, what growth tactics are you testing today? Just put it down in the chat. Rachel Kahn, can I pick on you? What are you testing at Productable in terms of growth? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Sure. LinkedIn marketing.
Interesting. Does that mean paid spend or only organic content?
Organic content.
And so what does that mean? Are you posting directly on your account, sort of multi-page, threaded download buttons, or what are you posting?
It's actually really simple. We tested a lot of different things, and we found that just quick blurbs of content move potential customers the easiest. So mostly just original content.
I love that. And guys, Rachel's got a beautiful company called Productable. You see the logo behind her. She's doing an incredible job selling into, usually I would say, Rachel, what's the right way to describe the industry you sell into? I don't want to say slow and archaic, but it's a tough market to sell into, right?
Yeah, national security, a lot of military. So.
Yep, a lot of military. So you guys can see in the chat, content, events, CEO outreach. Lauren says monthly use case focused virtual roundtables. And guys, I appreciate the comments. I can see them live. And as I read your comments, I will customize the content we learned today. So Rachel just gave some good examples. Let me now, what you're going to see on this next screen, I'm going to go forward here in a second. I've basically taken all of the 3,300 software interviews that I've done, right, with founders. Now, if you're going, what is Nathan talking about? Just guys, raise your hand if you listen to at least one podcast or you've been on the podcast. Raise your hand high. I'm looking. David Leaney said yes. You can see, Martin, look, a bunch of people raising their hand, right? The podcast is what I launched back in, and you guys, the backyard barbecue goes crazy. You guys have to manage your own audio. That's the risk of having over 100, I don't know, what do we have, 110 founders live? That's the risk of having everyone live. But my point being here is we've taken the best content from these 3,300 interviews I've done with SaaS founders, and I've said, let me plot the tactics that work the best. So I'm going to go silent here. You guys look at these 33 tactics, and you tell me if I'm missing any that you guys are using that are working well. See if you can find, like Doug just put in the chat, podcasts, right? See if you guys can find the growth tactic working best for you. See if you can find it here in the quadrants. And then feel free to light me up. If you're doing Sylvie DeSmet at Frame Us and you're like, whoa, that's not on the thing, put it in the chat. Or Annalise Sound, same to you. Tina M, James Mead, if you guys see something, put it in the chat as well, right? So what we've done here is we've basically said, okay, here are 33 growth tactics that the fastest growing companies use. There's fast and cheap in the upper left, right? And then there's slow and cheap in the upper right, and then expensive down below. So guys, the way we're going to work through our content today over the next 43 minutes or 53 minutes is you want to think about not just which growth tactics you're doing. You want to think about the order you're doing them. Sequencing is what it's called, right? You can't just go listen to a $50 million ARR CEO and go copy their growth strategies today. No, you want to go see what they were doing when they were at your stage, at $2 million of revenue, right? And do that. right? You have to have the context. And so I think a lot of us make this mistake. So Tina M, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself really quick. If I asked you, how should most software companies move through this graph, like bottom left to upper left or upper left to bottom right, how would you say they should move through this chart?
Oh, I would definitely say top left to bottom right. You want to get, your as much learning as possible, as quickly as possible, and then move into the slower, more expensive stuff.
You nailed it. I would argue if you're watching right now and you're under $3 million of ARR, you should not be doing anything below the line. You should not be doing anything but below the fast, slow line, because those things are expensive. If you're doing those things with under $3 million Mario, it's hysterical. I can't tell if you're rocking out to music or if you're just agreeing with me and bopping your head up and down. Just tell me you're agreeing with me and you're loving the content.
Nah, I'm loving it. I'm agreeing with you.
That's all. He's just jamming out over here. I'm going, he's listening to a good bop or he loves the content. But the reason you don't want to do this stuff below the line if you're under $3 million of revenue, guys, is because then you're going to have to go raise VC and then you lose control, right? Or you lose your optionality because those things are expensive tactics. If you want to keep control and grow, you want to do exactly what Tina just said. You want to start in the upper left, then move to the upper right. So cheap things that are fast and then slow. And only after you're above $4 or $5 million of revenue do you start considering placing some bets that are below the line, right? That are below the line. So this is sort of good guidance in terms of the next slide. We're now going to bucket this by function, right? By function. Purple is influence, yellow is paid, right? Purple is BD, orange is content, and red is engineering. Many of you guys, if you have some scale already, you might actually have hired individual people for each of these colors. This is sort of how it's bucketed. Michelle Lawrence, I'm curious at FormPiper, have you guys hired someone specifically just to manage and do your paid, or do you guys use an agency?
We are not doing paid at the time.
Okay, no paid, no paid. What about your outbound strategy? Do you have some AEs and SDRs, those kinds of folks?
We do.
Yep. So guys, that's how you want to think about sort of this in context, right? Are these color schemes? Now, what I want to do as I'm going to tease you with the next slide, right? We're about to jump into these 9 growth tactics and 9 case studies. Before I do that, though, I would like to customize how we work through these with your feedback. So 2 question survey I just put up. First, is this your first webinar with us? Yes or no? And then second, say we are trying, insert your tactics. You might say affiliates, but we can't get affiliates to promote, right? So insert the tactic you're currently trying and then the challenge. And guys, what you're doing is you're helping me figure out what you care about, and it's going to enable me to create better webinars in the future and deliver better content on this webinar. So first, yes or no, is this your first webinar? And then second, just type a quick sentence. We are trying X tactic, but we have Y challenge. And remember, here's a list of all the tactics again if you need a quick refresher. Now I'm going to pick on Jay Ratham while everyone else is typing. Jay, what company are you with? What are you building? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
We're building a small business communications app similar to Podium and Bird-Eye. We're just building a much better mousetrap.
Hot space. What's your mousetrap?
It just does more. I mean, we automate organic SEO for our subscribers. Our payments platform is better. We have a fully loaded CRM in there. We have a dashboard where you can quickly navigate through the whole app, like a 5-year-old. It's very, very, very intuitive.
All right, Bird-Eye for a 5-year-old. I think that could fly. We'll see if it works. But Jay, thanks for being here. Guys, it looks like about 50, I'm going to stop the poll here in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to share it because I want you guys to see who you're here with. Right there it is. So looks like 54% of you are new. Welcome. It's so good to have you. I appreciate you guys being here. And then it looks like about 47% of you guys are veterans, which we love. I'll study those answers after the webinar and follow up with you one-on-one with some tactics that are relevant specifically for the tactic that you're currently testing. Let me stop sharing and let's move into the content for today. Here's our blueprint for the next 48 minutes. I've broken it up into 3 sections. The first 10 minutes, we're going to focus on tactics regarding building your influence. The second 10 minutes are going to be about your content strategy with some surprising things here. You're going to think, I know content strategy. I'm going to try and shock your ecosystem a little bit with some real case studies. And lastly, we'll talk about some outbound tactics. Why cold email is not dead if you do it the right way. Why door knocking is something you might consider. It's worked for VizyPay. And lastly, you don't always have to put your call centers in Argentina. I'll show you how ReviewWave did this, 20 million bucks bootstrapped ARR. A lot of great content today. So let me jump in. Out of curiosity, section 1 is influence. Section section 2, that's 2 fingers is content. Section 3 is outbound. Guys, just hold your fingers up. 1, 2, or 3. Which section are you most interested in? 1, 2, or 3. Adrian said 2. Brian's 2. Ragnar's 2. Tina said 1. Jay's 2. Annalise is 1. Okay, good. We've got a nice mix. Let's jump in. First section here is all about influence. Now, influence, what I mean by that, I call this soft power. It's one of the biggest advantages you have as a startup. If you figure out a way to build what I call soft power, it becomes easier for you to convince affiliates to market your product, right? Or how to have partners send emails on your behalf, or how to get your product launched to #1, or how to get on the first page of Hacker News. This is all soft power, right? And so how do you create that soft power? Well, it starts with attention. Take a look here at SEMRush's revenue graph. And what if I sort of took us back in history here for a second? This was their 2010 most popular page in terms of how they were getting new traffic. Can you see what they were doing here? Mario Asaf, what does this look like to you? Can you tell everyone what you see here?
Actually, my screen isn't loading.
Hopefully that's just
They're
you.
driving it all through affiliate partners.
Patrick Shaw with Rapid Funnel jumps in and saves the day. That's exactly right, Patrick. Can you read? Is it big enough? Can you see what they're paying out in terms of the affiliate?
40%. Yeah, we're trying to figure out our affiliate plan right now, and that's, I mean, it seems like a lot.
Yep. How many of you guys agree with Patrick? You're testing affiliates right now. Just type affiliate in the chat. Is anyone? Who's testing affiliates right now? They could also, some people call it value-added resellers or channel strategy. What I mean is, are you paying some group of people some variable commission to bring you traffic? Right? So, okay,
is that 40% on the first year, Nathan? Or what is that 40% of what? The setup fee or?
Yeah, so Patrick, I mean, they had obviously, they didn't know SEMRush was going to be as big as it was in 2010. They were pre-revenue back then. So they're going, I just need people to promote 40% in perpetuity. Now,
wow.
Patrick, you're smart, right? You already have a couple million in revenue. Everyone else, you're smart. What happens if you're paying 40% in perpetuity over time? Let's say you grow to $5 million revenue. What happens?
Eat your lunch.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And let's say all your revenue comes from affiliates and you're paying out 40%. What's the maximum gross margin you can have? What's the maximum gross margin? Who's got it in the chat? There you go. You got it. Exactly right. Tina's got it. 60%, right? That's before AWS costs and hosting. So maybe you're actually 50%. That's a terrible gross margin for a software company. When you go try and sell, you're going to sell for like peanuts because the buyer's going to say you have 50% gross margin. That's terrible. So what happened with SEMRush, Patrick, to your point, they had to shift their strategy. Look at, by 2018, they passed $60 million of revenue. 40% of that revenue had come from affiliates. So it's 40% of about 60 million. Right, it's about 25 million bucks.
But do you think they knew that going in and they used it as an accelerator to just create the growth?
Well, my point is, this is where I come back to that sequencing comment I made at the top of the call, right? None of us know. I mean, we all hope we're going to build a $100 million ARR company, right? But in the early days, we're just scrapping. We have no idea if this is the one, right? Is this going to be the one? Well, it turns out for SEMRush, this was the one. So Patrick, they had to go, crap, how do we buy back our margin? How do we get our margin back? You don't want to piss off the affiliates. What do? Well, so they have a clause, and what a lot of folks do, and it's my recommendation to you guys today, make sure if you're paying out this kind of heavy commission that you've got a clause in your affiliate contract that says something like the following. Listen really carefully. At any point in time, us, the company, right, has the option, but is not required, right, but has the option to buy out your affiliate monthly commission for forward-looking 6 months. So let's say you're paying some affiliate $2,000 a month because they brought you 10 grand of MRR, right? You're basically saying you can buy that affiliate out for their commission, $2K per month times 6 months, 12 grand. I pay Tina 12 grand today, boom. I now own all the customers she gave us free and clear, right? We're buying out that forward-looking commission stream. This is a really, really important thing to build into your affiliate contracts because in the future, you know, if it works, and none of us know if it's going to work, but if it does work, you need to be able to buy back that revenue stream. How many of you guys just sort of had an aha moment? You thumbs up. Does that sort of like make sense? Was that good value, right? You want that in your affiliate contract. Thanks, Patrick. So guys, today, I don't want to spoil the beans. You guys can actually go to it, right? But if you go to SEMRush affiliate program, they just pay out a one-time cost per acquisition now. If you bring them a trial, they pay $100 one time. If you bring them a customer, they pay you $250 one time. Affiliates don't make any recurring anymore at SEMRush. So this is, again, what I mean by sequencing, right? You can't just copy SEMrush's affiliate strategy today because you can't get affiliates to promote your business if you're only going to pay them one time for a customer because you're new. We're all new. We're SaaS startups. You've got to start with a 30 or 40% perpetuity, and then step 2 is usually like, okay, 30% in year 1, and then 20% in year 2, and then nothing in year 3, right? And then step 3 is sort of, okay, now it's just a one check at the beginning. right? And then it's done. So you're buying back margin over time. All right, we're still in section 1. Let's go to case study 2 as Adrian enjoys his lunch. Adrian, what are you having, man? Littenberg, what are you eating? Looks good, man.
I'm eating a very good vegetarian Indian cuisine.
Just rub it in. I appreciate that. Nice vegetarian Indian cuisine with 262 SaaS founders. Adrian, thanks for being here, man. What are you working on? What are you building?
We're building an ESG platform.
I have no idea what that is. What's EC?
ESG.
Oh,
That is
ESG.
Environment, social, and governance.
Okay, very good. Are you post-revenue or pre-revenue?
Post-revenue, we are
Okay.
running at the moment roughly 400K, and we started roughly a year ago.
Congratulations, guys. Round of applause for Adrian for being transparent. 500K almost of ARR in his first year. That's amazing, man. All right, back to your salad. Back to your salad and taking notes. Let's jump into Zensai. It used to be called LMS 365. Look at their revenue growth here. Look at their revenue growth here. Now, what was wild and what is wild about Zensai is they use what I like to call OPT. Now, Ragna and I see Thomas, obviously on with SaaSiest. Anyone I met on the SaaSiest European tour is not allowed to answer this, but OPT. Gio, where's Gio? Gio, unmute yourself. Is Gio Patel here? Gio, unmute yourself.
Yeah, what's up, Nathan?
Did we meet in person on the tour or no?
No, but we met at SaaScare.
Okay. Did I tell you what OPT was, or you just guessed right in the chat and you nailed it first try?
I'm a big fan of your podcast, so I heard every one of them.
How many episodes have you listened to?
I'll say at least 20 or 30 of them, and then I attend each of these webinars for last few months now.
Oh, amazing, man. I'm thrilled you're here. You nailed it, though, guys. He nailed it. It's called Other People's Traffic. The reason I'm bringing this up is a lot of us, man, it's getting hot in here, too. Take my jacket off here. Calm down, calm down, calm down. Don't get crazy. Just relax, everybody, okay? All right. OPM used to be the popular thing, right? It used to be other people's money, right? How to use OPM. OPM. The problem is you read about these stories like Quibi. If you guys search QUIBI bankrupt, QUIBI bankrupt, just search it. QUIBI bankrupt. This was a company that Jeff Katzenberg and Meg Whitman, ex-CMO or CEO of eBay, launched a platform called Quibi. This was a couple years ago. They put billions behind it in pre-launch. Everyone's going, it's going to be a hit. They're billionaires. Well, it failed. They tried to use money to buy attention, and it failed. I want you guys to remember this. You cannot buy attention today. You have to earn it. You cannot buy attention, right? You have to earn it. Billionaires tried it, failed. You really have to earn it with creativity. And so the reason OPT is more valuable than OPM is for that reason. Here's how Zensai gets most of their traffic. Look at the screenshot. Now what this is this is a picture of their listing in the Microsoft App Exchange. Right? A lot of their trials come directly from this. They are using Microsoft's traffic to grow their business. Now, this is not a revolutionary tactic or idea, right? It's, oh, you put it in an app store, of course. Duh, Nathan, that's easy stuff. Well, it's easy to think about, but it's harder to do. How many of you guys are in at least one of these app exchanges, right? These are 14 of the most popular ones. They drive the most revenue to SaaS companies. How many of you guys are in at least one? Just put one up in the air. Anybody? Stephen Benson's one. Stephen, which one are you in?
We are in Salesforce, HubSpot, Microsoft Dynamics, Zoho, and recently AWS.
Guys, Steve has built an incredible business called Badger Mapping. Is it Badger Maps, Stephen, or BadgerMapping.com?
You know, we'll take your traffic either way.
OPT, baby. But stick your link in the chat, though, guys. Steve's an incredible founder. He's really capital efficiently built his business. He should have died during COVID because his software allows people to plan their in-person physical sales routes, their field sales reps, which no one was doing during COVID. He figured out a way to survive. I lived with him in the Disney house for, what was it, Steve, maybe 3 months?
Yeah, but it was the summer of, fall of 2020.
We had these beautiful founder events, and one time this very charming lady came over with a cheese plate. They are now married with one kid, Steve, or 2 kids living in Lisbon, right?
1 kid living in southern Spain.
Unbelievable.
It's a fun story.
It's a great story. But guys, Steve, which app exchange drives Badger Maps the most trials per month or per year, would you say?
Salesforce.
Salesforce, yeah. Now, guys, look, if you're just now getting into one of these, you're thinking right now, well, Nathan, I can't compete in the HubSpot App Exchange. There's already 1,000 apps in my category. How do I win? Well, I would tell you you're right. I don't have a magic bullet for that. So let's think about this for a second. Why are the apps today at the top of the HubSpot App Exchange? Why are they at the top? Usually it's because they were there first. right? So let's look at the screen right now. Which of these companies have the newest app exchanges so that you can go be there first? Well, OpenAI's is pretty new. Stripe's a $100 billion company. They've only got 150 apps in their app exchange. Go dominate your keyword there, right? What else is new? Any other really new ones on here? I would say those are Zoom is fairly new, under 1,000 apps there, right? Go play there. So that's the idea here, right? If you're touching, don't try to be in all of these because they're not relevant for all of you, but you should be in at least one or two of them, right? One or two of them. That's OPT. All right, we're still in section 1. I'm now into this third section. Now, this is going to be really freaking weird. This is going to be very, very, very meta. I didn't want to do this section, but people kept saying, Nathan, the webinars are incredible. I come to everyone. I come all the time. I come, great. How many of you guys, just out of curiosity, you heard earlier someone, Gilles said he's been to a couple, maybe 8, 9, 10 the past couple months. Guys, how many of you guys that are back again, how many would you guys say that you've been to? 1, 2, 5, 10? I just think most of these things, okay, see some 10s in the chat, some 5s, some Ben Murray's in the house. That's great. Ben, good to see you, man. SaaS CFO. But the webinars are typically really boring. And so you can see here, again, I don't have to tell you this, what's on the screen, because you're actually seeing it live. We're actually doing this right now. But you might be wondering, how does Nathan and FounderPath, how do we get consistently hundreds of founders live and thousands registered, which are also leads? Well, I follow a very simple framework. This is it. This is it. The bottom left is minute 0. The bottom right is minute 60. You have to tell your story on a webinar better than a Disney animator. There has to be a hero. There's got to be a villain. There has to be a crescendo to a climax with the resolution. You want to give your audience goosebumps, right? How do you tell the story if you're not great at copy or storytelling? Well, Tina, let me just pick on you for a second. What's your company name and what are you building? I'm going to try and use you as a real example here.
My company's name is Drift Golf. We're a two-sided marketplace for golf courses. Think Uber Eats, but for golf.
Okay, I love this. So guys, Tina is giving a webinar right now to golf course managers. Now look, she's not trying to get 1 million people live. She only needs 100 golf course managers because her ACV is what, Tina, $1,000, $10,000 a year?
Yeah.
Something like that, right? So she's gonna say, welcome to the webinar. One little thing that drives me crazy about the golf industry is whenever we try and manage bookings in the traditional software, it always glitches out, it doesn't work. We solve this with this one little feature. Okay, now minute 10. The next worst thing about the golf industry is why? You leave revenue on the table because it's hard to check the upsell for the Coke Zero products and the protein bars when I'm trying to sell golf balls. If you want to increase your average cart value at checkout at your golf course, here's how we help you solve that problem. Minute 40. The worst thing about the golf space is blah. Tina, what's the worst thing about the golf software space?
The golf software space is that everybody has one little solution for one little problem. So golf course managers are stuck spending up the wazoo for lots and lots of different programs, and none of them work together.
And the reason you should come check out Tina's software is because we are an all-in-one solution for everything you need, ranging from the golf course, the snacks at the snack bar, the pre-registration for the course timing, the T-spot kickoff times. We do it all in one for one flat price of $7,000 per year, right? And that's the best thing about Tina's SaaS company at minute 45. Then that's the crescendo, right? The villain are the other software companies that are point solutions. She's the hero. The resolution is here's a link to try a demo, book with the AE, or if you're ballsy, sell right away. Click here to put in your credit card and buy for $1,000 a year. Right? And then that's that second part, that step function. And then Tina, what you want to do there, the reason it's a step function is you unmute. So here, watch, I'll do it right now. Guys, how many of you guys are live right now and you're a FounderPath customer already? Just put it in the chat. Who's a FounderPath customer? Anybody? Anybody? Rachel, can I pick on you just because I know you're a FounderPath customer? All right.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so Rachel, why are you using FounderPath?
Oh, because government deals are really slow and the money is lumpy. And so money always comes, but never when you expect it.
I love that. Mark Rankovic, why are you using FounderPath?
Yeah, pretty much the same reason. We sell into school districts and the revenue is very seasonal. We get 20 prepaid annual contracts and we get 60% of our cash flow in calendar Q3 and only 40% across the other 3 quarters.
And can I ask how much capital you got from FounderPath, or you don't have to share it if you don't want to?
Just about 800K at the moment.
800K. And one last one. Steve, why do you use FounderPath?
It's less of the revenue's lumpy, and it's just that, you know, I've used SaaS debt for, I don't know, 7 years or so. Not all with FounderPath. I used some other ones earlier. I switched to FounderPath a couple years ago, but we've always just been able to have 5 more engineers than I would have otherwise been able to have. And we've been able to build more software, create more value.
Are you comfortable sharing, Steve, how much you took?
Oh, I mean, over the years, I bet I've done $8 million in SaaS debt. But I mean, the last round, I mean, I think I've got 2.8 with you right now.
Yep. So guys, what I just did, that's the step function at the end of this. From minute 45 to 15, you want to unmute your current customers because they will sell the rest of the people live. Right? And notice I'm sort of asking Rachel and Steve leading questions, but not really. Like if they said something negative, I would also want to call that out. Like Rachel could have said, Nathan, you guys took forever to close. And I'd say, man, Rachel, you're right. We're working on that. But you still worked with us. So why'd you do it? Right, Rachel? You could have said something negative.
It was my fault. I took way longer than you guys did.
Oh, no, I'm totally joking. That's an example. But my point is, guys, the reason a lot of people are nervous to unmute current customers is because you're nervous they're going to say something negative. But it makes you real. It makes you super real. Right? And what happens is you let those people talk and keep them unmuted and they sell everybody else and then you move on to the next one. That's the step function. So it's almost like your own, what's that TV show where they like sell necklaces and it's like, oh, Suzanne's calling in. She just bought the 2-for-1 deal, the Schwammy Schwap thing where you can clean it in 2 minutes. Oh, you know, Sammy just bought it. Okay, we only have 4 left. It's sort of like you're doing that. Okay, it's QVC. You're sort of doing that, but on a webinar, right? For B2B SaaS. Now, the last thing I want to talk about with webinars is you've got to do these little bubbles. You've got to do the LWI, right? This is all of you should be screenshotting this and sending it to whoever does webinars at your company, right? Just tell them, whatever this is, go watch Nathan's recording. You got to get the slide deck. You got to do LWI. Here's what LWI is. Many of you guys, if I just talk for 50 minutes straight, you will tune me out because my voice becomes the norm, right? So it's easy to ignore. If I break up my voice, I've already done it. I've unmuted people. I've paused. You're going to see me with embedded videos later on. Those are ways to break up your voice. You've got to break up your voice on webinars, otherwise people mute you. Right? So keep people listening. How do you keep people watching your slides? Some of you are guilty right now. You've minimized my slides, which pissed me off because I spend a lot of money on these slides, but you've minimized the slides. It's my responsibility to make sure you're viewing the slides. How do I do that? Well, you guys have seen me do this. I've said, I'm going to the next slide now, or see my mouse, or here's Zensai's revenue. Look at the curve. That's how you get people keeping your screen maximized, right, and leaning in. And then lastly, you want people to kinesthetically interact. That literally means hands, body, movement, hands. I've done this a couple times. I said 1, 2, 3. You guys are physically moving your bodies, right, or you're answering poll questions, typing, right, or you're putting your thumbs up. That's kinesthetic engagement. When you combine all 3 of these things and you use one of 9 of these tactics at least every 5 minutes, when you download your webinar performance results at the end, you're going to see the majority of your people stay live for over 90% of the whole webinar. If you don't do these things, people drop off at minute 10, and you never see them again. They're gone. All that work you did to promote it, they're gone after 10 minutes. All right? So we spent a lot of time on section 1 because it's the thing I'm the most passionate about, but here's the summary on section 1, and then we're going to go into section 2 and 3, which are each 10 minutes each. Section 1 summary, we talked about affiliates. Step function, like Patrick Shaw said, step function your affiliate program. Aggressive at the start, out clause, cost per trial, cost per sign up towards the end as you scale like SEMRush. Number 2, OPT. Nothing else to be said there. OPT, other people's traffic. And lastly, what does the perfect webinar look like? How do you keep people engaged? All right, give me a big ol' heck yes in the comments if you learned at least one thing from section 1. Wadi said, Wadi, unmute yourself. What was your favorite thing? What was your biggest takeaway?
The marketplaces.
Marketplaces. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I thrive off your guys' energy. I see your customers live here on the right. Ragnar says, let your customers talk. David said OPT. Brent said everything. Everything. I'm loving it. All right, guys, let's keep the momentum going here. The last 6 tactics I want to cater a little bit to where you guys are at today, if that's okay with you. No pressure to answer this, but again, you do enable me to give you better content if you do answer this. So I'm going to launch a poll really quick. And all I'm asking you is to take last month's revenue, recurring only, okay? Last month's revenue times 12. So what's your ARR today? Right, what range are you? This is a sort of a nice way to also say hello to everybody else on the webinar, because I'll share these in a second. Your name won't be attached, right? But I'll share the percentages of the bands, right, with everybody else here in a second. So 4, 3, I'll give you 5 more seconds to answer this. Are you pre-revenue? Are you 1 million to 3 million, 3 to 7, 7 million plus? Where are you guys at? Where are you at? All right, 3, 2, 1, let's end the poll. All right, and I'll share it with you guys. Guys, here's who you're hanging out with today. right? 25% of you are pre-revenue, 34% of you are 1 to 500K. 13 plus 9 plus 4, so 26% of you are doing more than $1 million per year, and 5% of you are doing more than $7 million per year. I can't see how many people we have live, but you guys can look at the attendance counter down at the bottom, I think, and put it in the chat. So you can take 5% times whatever that is, and you can see who's doing or how many people are doing what amount of revenue. So I love that. I'll cater the rest of the content towards some of these categories. And the chat is, guys, can you guys see the results in the chat? Or sorry. Is the chat, it's still moving, right? Okay, great, great. All right, so that's the results. Let me stop sharing here. Let me stop sharing. And I'll go to the next section of content. We're going to focus on content marketing. Now, guys, content marketing, this is, I think, a massive black box. You know, we try it, we get frustrated, we put a blog post, nobody views it, we go, content marketing is stupid, it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. We're going to focus on 3 very specific tactics here over the next 7 minutes. We're going to talk about ZenBusiness, Clickup, and then retention.com. Now, before we dive deep into each of those 3 categories, the one thing I'll tell you guys is when you run these first 3 growth tactics, it helps you keep your options open. Like Tina taught us in the beginning, if you start in the upper left of that graph and move around to the bottom right, you don't have to give up equity to raise cash to test expensive stuff early because you're doing the fast and cheap stuff early, right? And you want to keep your options open. So out of curiosity, look, there's nothing wrong, by the way, there's nothing wrong with raising a bunch of capital. It's just a different playbook. So how many of you guys in the chat, right, I want you to say capital efficient. If you've raised less than 1x your ARR, say capital efficient in the chat if you've raised less than 1x your ARR. Okay, so Jonathan, Rachel, Martin, Douglas, Morgan, Waddy, Paul, Jim Benson, David Levine, okay, a lot of you guys, right? A lot of capital efficient companies, right? Now there's nothing wrong again with being VC backed, it's just a different model, but when you are capital efficient, this is what happens. Specifically, you're gonna be like that guy in the bottom right, or the bottom right center of my screen right now. I want you to meet Eric. Dixa, Mads in the upper left, he's the opposite of capital efficient. They've raised a crap ton of money. Well, the founder in the center bottom on the right made a lot of money from the founder that's chasing growth at all costs and raised a bunch of money to buy his company, right? Why did Eric in the center bottom get acquired by Dixa? Well, Dixa went out and raised, let me see if I can actually do this on the fly. Dixa raised 43 million. So you can see here, right? Actually, it's right on their site, right? Dixa went out in March of 2022 and raised 43 million bucks, and they bought 2 companies. One of them was called SolveMate, right? Which is Eric, the CEO. This is what Eric said about how much money he made on the exit. I'll let you read this. The point here is Eric started with the cheap and fast stuff in the upper left. Self-plug here, he used FounderPath money, right? Doubled his revenue, then exited and kept basically all of it, right? Because there were no VCs, there was no 1x liquidation preference, there was no dragged out diligence process because the VCs wanted a 100x return, right? Let me give Ben the opportunity to chime in here really quick. Ben Murray, you launched one of the most popular, if not the most popular SaaS metrics course in the world. You've got a new one launching here shortly. Talk me through a little bit how you sort of advise companies that are thinking about, they are currently capital efficient, they're thinking about raising a lot more, and you're going, think about these 3 things first. I mean, what are you seeing in the market today?
Hey, Nathan, can you hear me okay?
I hear you great, Ben.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I mean, I work with a lot of founders and, either coaching or fractional work, and, you have to understand what's working, not working in your business. So if you're going to raise, what's that plan? Because I just interviewed a Series B founder, raised 26 million, and he knew exactly how he's going to deploy that. He said, there's the science to the SaaS metrics that you then have to prove out at Series A and beyond. So you really have to speak the language of SaaS.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, you nailed it. And we've worked together with a bunch of founders to help. I mean, I know this is selfish and sounds really gimmicky, like internet marketer, but FounderPath and I exist to help you guys get rich. I know it's terrible, but I know, Tina, if you're really wealthy, you're going to invest in other companies, you're going to have a great family, great vacations, you do whatever you want, you're going to have a beautiful, lovely life. And we actually did this recently with Scott at Contact Monkey. So he had raised about $1 million from FounderPath. And Ben, you worked, I don't know if this is true or not, so correct me if this is wrong, but I'm fairly certain you worked with him through the updated deal, correct?
For Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been long-term client and still a client, and they're doing great.
So guys, Scott gave me permission in the video He gave me permission here because I've already put on the website to say what I'm about to say. We never share stuff unless we have permission to say it from the founders, but he effectively bootstrapped to well over $5 million of revenue using other people's money. In this case, it was FounderPass, and then, and only then, went out and did this deal. Right now, he didn't say how much of this was secondary or not, but if I'm a betting man, a big chunk of this was secondary because he held all the cards. He held all the cards as the founder. He had full control, right? Growing capitally efficient. So that's the name of the game here. We're now operating at FounderPath out of a $150 million fund. You've heard from Rachel, Steve, and some others that are currently, heard from Mark as well, that are currently using us. Steve, I'm not going to replay your embedded video here. It's great to have you live. You already gave these tactics and this sort of summary, but guys, to Steve's point, he used our RPA product, which is our factoring product, 7 times, totaling $3 million. Right, which he gave me permission to share in this recording, this testimonial we did. He grew it from, Steve, you said 1 million to 6 million ARR, right, over the course of the time that you were using SaaS debt. And then it allowed you to grow your valuation from 3 million to 36 million. And Steve, how much of those equity gains did you get to keep?
I mean, all of them. So, I mean, we did a small round early on, like a friends and family round, but you know, we haven't had to sell anything, and we're at 7 million now in ARR. So
it's incredible.
We did another deal with you guys. When was that? Like February? So we kind of plussed up.
Yeah, and we did, like Rachel, I don't have your permission to share our deal, so I'm not going to share it. But Mark and everybody else that we work with, you know, we're now basically working with folks like Steve. You know, Steve only drew 2.8 million, but his term loan is for 4.2. So he knows he could pull another $1.5 million, 2 million in the future if he wants at terms. He already knows what the terms are. So it's sort of like Ben, you probably know better than I. There's a formal name for this in the finance world. It's like maybe a delayed draw term loan or something like that. But it's basically what SVB used to love to do. All right. So Steve, yeah, we appreciate that, man. It's good working with you. Guys, what I want to say, we've got a bunch of our team on right now. If you guys are considering debt, right? Now, this doesn't mean you're going to take it. Maybe you're just curious, right? But if you're doing, you have to be doing at least $1 million of revenue, right? But if you're doing at least $1 million of revenue and you want to be like Steve and Rachel and Mark, who you just learned from, go ahead on the screen and just hit the little yes. Hit the little yes button. And what that will do is our team will reach out to you after this and answer any questions you have, and we'll get you an Excel file template of how our term loans work. So you can type in, well, what if I did a 3-year payback at X% rate and I took $1 million? Or what if I took $3 million on a 4-year term with a 12-month IO period? You can sort of play around with the Excel model with yourself and with your CFO. And then come back to us if you have questions. I'll give you guys 10 more seconds to answer that. If you want that Excel file, just type yes. And then let us know about how much capital you might be looking for, right? Just put that in the little text field afterwards. So 3, 2, and actually out of curiosity, if you guys have, this isn't just about FounderPath. A lot of companies use debt or non-dilutive capital. How many of you guys have used non-dilutive capital? Just put in the chat, type debt. Who's used some form of debt? Let's not include convertible notes because those are meant to convert to equity. But if you've truly used debt, right? Guys, look at the chat. It's sort of like when you read the Forbes top 1,000 list, right? All wealthy people know how to use debt. You get in trouble if you don't know how to use debt, right? If you don't know how to use debt and you take it, you don't know how to manage it, it can be bad. But most software companies with founders that are scaling, they do use debt. It's just we don't talk about it a lot because it's not sexy. So you don't read it on TechCrunch. All right, let's end the poll here. Let's end the poll. And we're going to jump into section 2, tactic 1. Here it is, ZenBusiness, revenue growth. There it is. He wants to beat LegalZoom, right? LegalZoom is a big company, right? So how is he doing it? Well, take a look at this screenshot. This is a backside of his Ahrefs account. Now, if that text is clear enough, can you guys type in the chat? Do you see any words that are repeated in those URLs? What words do you see repeated in that URL, in those URLs? Yep, LLC, you see LLC. Mark said business, yep, you see names. LLC, Aaron Carr, yep, names, Max. Aaron, good to see you, by the way, man. Love seeing familiar faces in the chat.
Hey, Nathan.
Good to see you, brother. All right, business. Yeah, Catchy. Is it Janine? Janine Jonas. Yep, Catchy's a good one. Guys, what he's done here is what's called programmatic SEO. You see the first row here? You see the first row, the word there? That one's got 1,064 backlinks, just LLC. What Ross realized is that if that one landing page is doing so well, the next phase of his SEO strategy should be taking the word LLC and multiplying it times some other variable that would generate 50,000 landing pages. So what's the other variable he's multiplying by LLC to create 50,000 landing pages? Geography, right? So it's LLC Florida, LLC California, LLC Texas, LLC Austin, Texas, right? Boom, that's programmatic. That is the genesis of programmatic SEO. So don't get lost in long articles and you're like, what the hell is programmatic SEO? All it is using your creativity to multiply two words together and generate 50,000 landing pages. That's it, right? Yeah, Wadi, these are the URLs of the landing pages, right, which are all SEO optimized. Now look, I am no expert in SEO. I just know a couple things I've done that really worked. Anyone on here just crushing with SEO? Raise your hand. Anybody? Is anybody crushing with SEO? No one? No hands. I'm looking behind me. Edgar, what are you doing? Edgar, raise his hand. Edgar, unmute yourself. What are you doing on SEO?
We do a ton of content marketing. So we have quite a few copywriters writing a lot of niche content related to what we are doing. So we are in email marketing space. So we create all kinds of, articles and
Edgar, what's your website?
Is sender.net. You can go to the blog.
What's it called?
You can go to the blog, sender.net, and click on the blog.
Edgar, you're saying it too fast. Type it in the chat. I'll click on it. Type it in the chat.
Yeah, okay.
All right. But guys, while Edgar's doing that, SEO though, Aaron, and maybe Aaron, I'll pop to you here in a second in terms of SEO. SEO is how we sold $2 million worth of Get Latka, right? So like the podcast did well. A lot of you guys said, Nathan, how do I know what episode to start with? So we took all the audio data and built a massive database at Get Latka, 30,000 software companies, right? And if you go into any of these, let's click on Unium, for example, with 6 million of revenue, you'll see my interview and all the data, including the revenue graph. These are all verbal points that they shared audio-wise in the interview, right? In the public podcast interview. So we used voice data to build a database. And then I said, how do we get traffic to this thing? Well, what you see here in our search console, if I go to Get Latka, see if you guys can see, here, let me just do last 16 months so you can see more of a pattern. I want to see if you guys can see the trend in our keyword, or if it takes forever to load, I'll just tell you what it is, right? But you can see here 1.17 million clicks. Guys, this is free clicks from Google. This isn't paid Google ads, this is free clicks from Google. So if I was going to pay $5 per click or $10 per click, I just saved $5 million or $11 million respectively. What's our keyword? It's very simple. You'll notice it. It's always the company name plus the word revenue. If you search almost any software company plus the word revenue in Google, Get Latka will almost always be the #1 result. Right? That's our programmatic SEO, right? And you're going, well, Nathan, did that actually generate revenue for you? Well, let me show you. Let me log into, if I can figure out how to do this on the fly, my FounderPath account, right, for Get Latka. So Get Latka is now obviously a side project, so I'm mainly focused on FounderPath, but this is reading directly from our Stripe data. So you can see when I was only doing Get Latka, we scaled it from basically nothing to about $60,000 per month in revenue. This was back in February 2022. Obviously we had churn and growth slowed, so now we're sort of flatlined at 30 grand a month in revenue, but this is still powerful, right? We spent almost no time on this, 30 grand a month in revenue, all programmatic SEO. So try to eat and teach sort of what I preach here. Now, if you're curious about, other metrics, annual recurring revenue, quick ratio, LTV to CAC, runway, churn. We look at a lot of stuff at FounderPath when we're underwriting companies like Badger Maps, like Rachel, like Mark. All that data is in here as well. We've sort of built this for free. So if you guys are looking for a free tool to track this kind of stuff, I encourage you to check it out. Additionally, this deck and recording, if you guys look in my FounderPath account, you see this button right here where my mouse is. If you click this, this is where you can get the recording. You just type the word Nathan, and you'll see all our webinar recordings right here, along with the slide decks, the key templates with every webinar. There's hundreds of free courses for SaaS founders here. So all you want to do, if you want that deck recording, just create a FounderPath account real quick. I'll drop the link in the chat so you guys have it, just so you can bookmark it, or even do it now. It's very quick. Let me send it to everybody. There it is. Right there it is. Right, so if you want this full slide deck, just create a quick course now. That way you can take the slide deck, throw it over to your marketing team and say, hey, check this out. Or maybe you already have a FounderPath account. I just launched a poll. Who's already got a FounderPath account? Mark, Rachel, Steve, we're still trying to figure out how to improve our reporting product for founders that have already taken money from us. Steve, I know you just signed a big contract with another company. We're going to keep trying to learn from you and build a much more robust reporting product for free. And hope that over time more and more folks use it. But it's a tough space, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, my story was I was using a free one.
You can say the
Profitwell.
names. It's okay. Yeah, you can say it.
I was using Profitwell, and there's something wrong with the way they're integrating with Stripe, and so it was every month our numbers were more and more off, and we kind of knew directionally. But the great news is about 4 days ago, I figured out that it's been a good year, but I figured out that it was like twice as good as I thought. I thought I'd grown like 350 a year in ARR, but it was actually like 700. So
this is a good problem.
Yeah, it was a good problem, but I mean, I knew it was direction. I knew directionally I was light, but I didn't know how light it was. But we bought Chart Mogul, but you know that's expensive. We got it. I forget exactly what we're paying them, but it's material and
5 figures, right? I mean, I imagine most of those contracts are 5 figures.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's better if you can build it for free, way better. But and we actually, I do use your stuff for a lot of stuff. You've got some metrics in there that are other people don't really do and are useful. I'm still wrapping my head around Chart Mogul. Like the team that put it together, they haven't trained me yet. So, this does right now. My take is this is something you got to pay for if you want it to be done right. But my fingers are crossed that I mean, and I don't know what's going on with Profitwell exactly, but they got bought by Paddle, and maybe they are not. Maybe Paddle would like you to pay because they have a paid product that does something along these lines. So maybe they're not putting as much love into the premium.
We'll keep learning. I mean, we love everybody else in this space too, but we also have, our main business isn't selling charts, right? It's helping founders get non-dilutive capital with our funds. So appreciate all that, guys. I'll click end poll really quick and then move into the next section here of content, which is Clickup. Clickup. How many of you guys raise your hand and use Clickup? Anybody? Anyone use the Gantt charts? Anybody? Jay Rotham? Yeah, Edgar. We've saw them on buses and in every airport a couple years ago during COVID. Their branding and marketing was everywhere. Here's Zeb's revenue growth. And I want you guys to look at this landing page really carefully. Do you see the gray oval at the top above the big bold headline? If you can't read it, what it says is Clickup clips, and it says replaces. Can you guys see what it says it replaces? What happened to that company replaces about 4 months ago? Anybody? What happened to Loom about 4 months ago? Exactly, Chip nailed it. Got acquired for about $945 million. Well, what did Atlassian do right when they acquired it? Obviously, you just paid a bunch of money for a company. You want to look good. You want to make money from it. So what do? You increase the price, right? Because you want to make money. Well, what happens if you love Loom, the price just increased, and you don't want to pay it? What do you start searching for? Loom replacement. Clickup launches this landing page, right? What's hysterical, I love Zeb to death. If you go look at Clickup's landing page, like their Ahref backend site structure, site index, they launch a landing page like this almost systematically for the past 5 years, 3 months after every major acquisition, right? That's how predictable it is for them, right? So every acquisition in the productivity tool space, they launch a landing page like this, replaces, boom, right? About 3 months afterwards, because they know that search volume is there. That's been one of his top growth tactics. Lastly, here in section 2, retention.com, love him or hate him. We've seen Adam a bunch, obviously, on LinkedIn. He pivoted hard to B2B SaaS in 2023. You can see his revenue growth here. It's since actually flatlined a little bit. He's trying to turn it around, but you can't deny his ability to get attention on LinkedIn. So let's look at his January P&L. Here it is for about 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Right? If you had me minimized, you probably missed it. But what you saw here is this little link, right, that he put at the bottom of his LinkedIn post. I just want you to see here how unsexy this is. A lot of us go, well, we can't just link to a Google form. We have to have a special landing page. It has to go through design, and engineering has to integrate with HubSpot. And 8 months later, you still haven't launched the frickin' landing page, right? It's just a Google form that he's linking to in LinkedIn, and it got about 1,600 people on our B2B's waitlist. And that's what he launched with, right? And now it's doing meaningful revenue. Right, Martin, it sounds like that form got you to sign up. Is that right? Unmute yourself. Did you use this link?
I did indeed.
Interesting.
So what it was quick.
Yeah. How long did it take you to fill out?
Like 2 minutes.
Yeah. Quick, right? And then what? What did he do afterwards? How did he market it to you?
And then I just got a link, and with a simple sign-up process, all the steps, installed the script, got it running, boom, done.
Yep.
Within like, quick.
This drove 300 demos. Now, guys, one of the things I'll tell you here, you might go, well, I'm not Adam Robinson. I don't have a massive LinkedIn following. One of the keys to building a big LinkedIn following is to follow the same story arc I told you earlier about in the webinar, right? Good, bad, hero, villain, crescendo, climax, resolution. You're following the same thing when you're writing copy in your LinkedIn post, right? You want to write that same kind of structure. So this is section 2 summary. We talked about programmatic SEO, free tools for SEO, right? For Clickup, and then don't overcomplicate LinkedIn. Now we've got 6 minutes left in the webinar, so I'm going to just go through these tactics very quickly. You can get the slide deck afterwards by signing up to FounderPath for free. Whippy.ai's revenue growth looks like this: 4 million bootstrapped. He uses cold emails, but not like us. Raise your hand if you've sent at least one cold email the past 7 days. Be honest. Come on, Brent Young. Come on. Who's done it? Yeah, we've all done it. We're not proud of these emails. Just generally speaking, we're not proud of these emails, right? But we have to do them, right? We're going, I got to do this. It doesn't feel great. I would encourage you to think like Dave thinks. He was the ex-World Series of Poker champion in 2018 when he was 26 years old, won $3 million. He likes thinking about risk, and now he's building that into a SaaS company. And he de-risked his company, Whippy.ai, because he knew he was competing with a group called ZipWhip. ZipWhip requires that its customers embed JavaScript. That means he can use a tool called BuiltWith. What BuiltWith scrapes the whole internet and says, hey, Dave, here are all the websites that embedded your JavaScript of your competitor. Go win them over. Right? That generated 470 leads. Before he put it in Apollo and sent a cold email blast, we all hate this term, but before he sent the cold email blast, he created it down to not 470, but just 50. He said, show me florists that use ZipWhip, that need text message marketing in New York and Texas. And he wrote these emails one-on-one to start. And only after his fingers got so tired from copying and pasting did he say, let me automate this with a blast, right, to 50. The one takeaway I would tell for you guys, and pass this on to your marketing team, when you're thinking about doing cold email marketing or cold email outreach, it should be done one-to-one first, right? And test different formats, different stories, different structures, and then automate, right? A lot of people skip that step, and that's why we have so much spam today, right? So that's why ZipWhip, one of the ways ZipWhip is losing traction to Whippy. Next, let's look at VizyPay. Let's look at VizyPay. You bet, Gina. Glad you enjoyed that. Guys, VizyPay is a tool, right, that helps you check out. Small businesses do check out like restaurants, and then they sell software on the back side of it. Here's his revenue growth. Now, this slide, I'm just going to ask you to read it yourself. Left side is fixed expenses, right side is variable. Many of you would argue that you could never do what's on the right side here, and I would challenge you. I would challenge you. I think a lot of you would say, Nathan, I need the fixed headcount expense for AEs. I need the left side. It's not going to work, right? Well, look, Austin and others are using the right side. Totally variable. 100% commission, no onboarding. You don't have to buy my computer. They don't need a WeWork license, right? It's 100% commission, and it's driving a lot of VizyPay's growth. It looks like Jim's doing a lot of this. James, you're testing this as well. That's good to hear. The last tactic of section 3 here. A lot of us think call centers don't work. Guys, how many of you guys, just yes or no in the chat, have some form of a call center? Could be one person. Anybody? Jay, where's your call center located? What country? Unmute yourself. Steven said yes. Jason, yes.
Well, we're actually onboarding 3 right now: Mexico, Nicaragua, and Colombia.
What do you pay a call center rep per month?
$2,400.
$2,400. Okay, so not cheap actually. That's getting up there. Okay,
But
that's
that's all in for the call center. We're not hiring individual reps. We're hiring 50 at a time.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. Steven said UK and Philippines. Guys, ReviewWave is bootstrapped to this much revenue. He said, let me test a call center in San Diego. No foreign country, San Diego. You want to talk about expensive? Expensive. That's what he did, 2 people. What Matt did that most of us don't do is he put a stake in the ground for his numbers. He knew he had to get his call center folks making these kinds of numbers, right? Now that you might go, I can see Tina, she's going, Nathan, you're full of shit. Tina, this was the $18,000 sale, right? So this isn't like a low ARPU, like, oh, you know, and this is an $18,000 sale from these call folks in San Diego. Here's his call center in San Diego today, all right? Cold calling still works, and the economics do work if you know what the funnel is supposed to look like and you write smart scripts that don't sound or feel like spam, right? But it works great for him. He's bootstrapped to over 18 million bucks of ARR today. James is giving me a big ol' heck yes in the chat. Guys, here's section 3 summary as we wrap up here with about 2 minutes left, and I respect your time, so we will be on time, right? Outbound can still work. Door-to-door can also work, and call centers do work if you know your economics. Now look, guys, here's the model we started with. Tina said start in the upper left, work your way around. We only covered 9 of these today. We only covered 9 of them. There's 33. Here's my ask to you. It is the pleasure of my life that you guys give me an hour and a half of your time once a month. I love it. Yeah, hopefully you can feel my energy. I think there's probably, 150 founders live today. We're going to cover 9 new ones of these next time. So a lot of you guys might have seen this content if you saw me tour Europe. Some of you guys hadn't seen it yet, so that's why I want to give it. But next month, it's all new. Brand new content, 9 new of these circles. And what I want to do is respect your guys' thoughts. So control me here. You pick one bubble and put it in the chat. I basically have playbooks, 15-page playbooks for each of these bubbles. Which bubble, you can only pick one. What bubble do you want me to go deep on next month? Put it in the chat. Okay, virality, newsletters, Google ads. Joel said retargeting, ABM affiliates newsletter. Founder brand. That's my favorite, by the way, right? Is the founder brand, because it leads to so much soft power, right? So much soft power. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of ideas. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to prioritize those of you that register right now in terms of building the deck around your ideas. So there's the link to Zoom for next month's webinar, right? I want you guys to go ahead and register now. And tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this full chat history from Zoom. I'm going to download all the registrations for next month's webinar, and I'll prioritize those of you that typed in the chat what you want me to cover and that register on Zoom. Go ahead and do that right now. I'll give you a second to do that. Type done in the chat once you've registered for next month's webinar. Again, there it is in the chat. Done, done, done. Okay, a lot of dones coming in there. Chip said done. This is great. As you guys are doing that, again, we're going to create amazing content next month as well. It will be July 2nd at 12 p.m. CST. Again, I respect your time, so we are going to end right on time. Hopefully, guys, I delivered over the past 59 minutes. We talked about 9 tactics of how to add revenue to your software company quickly. We talked about influence, content, outbound. You got webinar ideas. You got call center ideas. You got it all. Hopefully, you enjoyed it. If you want capital, we'll reach out shortly. I'm loving, obviously, managing the Founder Path Fund with our team, $150 million, supporting folks like Rachel, Steve, Mark, and some of the other you guys I see on today being a little quiet, but that is okay. Thank you for letting me do what I love every day. I will see you guys next month. If you enjoyed this webinar, you can go ahead and put 1 to 10 in the chat, 10 being you loved it, you learned something. Guys, thanks for letting me pick on you. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for turning your video on. I'm Nathan Latka at Founder Path. I'll see you guys next month. Take care. See you, Tina. See you guys. See you, Aaron. Bye. See you, John. Bye, Brett. Bye, Jeremy.